The alien ship called Harmony's Edge floated quietly in the dark space around planet Kepler 442b. Its crystal walls glowed with soft blue light, but now many of those walls had cracks running through them. Air was leaking out into the cold emptiness of space through the broken sections. Captain Veltar pressed his thin, gray hand against the main control panel. His large black eyes showed worry as he watched the ship's systems failing one by one. The Zephyrians had been peaceful explorers for thousands of years. They traveled from world to world, studying ancient ruins and learning about the civilizations that came before them. They had never needed weapons or armor because they had never met anything that wanted to hurt them. "Captain, the life support systems are down to 30%, said Science Officer Ketra from her station. Her musical voice carried fear, something rare for their kind. "We have maybe 6 hours before the air runs out completely." Veltar nodded slowly. His crew of 12 had been so excited when they found the ruins on this planet. The structures were older than anything they had ever seen before. Strange symbols covered every surface, and deep underground they had found a chamber filled with technology that still worked after millions of years. "Tell me again what happened when you touched that device," Veltar asked his science officer. Ketra's hands shook as she remembered. "I was trying to understand the symbols." The device looked like some kind of communication system. When I placed my hand on it, everything lit up. The whole chamber started humming with power. Then there was this pulse of energy that shot up through the ground and into space. "And our ship was damaged how?" "The energy wave hit us as we were leaving the planet's atmosphere. It did not seem harmful at first, but then all our systems started failing. The wave did something to our ship's crystal matrix. It is like the energy is still inside our walls, slowly breaking everything down." Veltar walked to the main viewing screen. The planet below them looked peaceful. Its green and blue surface reminded him of his homeworld. But something down there had nearly killed them all. The ancient device had sent out a signal so powerful it could be felt across the galaxy. "Captain," called out Navigation Officer Zephon from across the bridge, "I am picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." "What kind of strange? Energy signatures?" "Big ones. They are coming from the direction where that pulse went. And they are moving fast. Very fast." Veltar felt his blood turn cold. The Zephyrians knew about dangerous species in the galaxy. They had heard stories of worlds that had been destroyed by forces no one understood. But they had always stayed away from those areas. They went to dead worlds, safe worlds, worlds where nothing could hurt them. "How many signatures?" "I count at least 50, maybe more." "They are still too far away to get exact numbers." Ketra looked up from her station with terror in her eyes. "Captain, I think I know what that device was." It was not a communication system. It was a distress beacon, an ancient one. When I touched it, it sent out a call for help across space and time. Help from who? I do not know. But whoever built that beacon, they built it to call for warriors. The energy signature is not like anything our people have ever created. It is harsh and violent and strong. Veltar felt hopeless. His people had no weapons. Their ship was built for research, not fighting. Even if they could fix the damage, they had no way to defend themselves against whatever was coming. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the human colony ship New Horizon was traveling between star systems when the pulse hit their sensors. The ship was massive, designed to carry 50,000 colonists to new worlds. But like all human ships, it was also ready for war. Captain Jake Morrison was in his quarters when the emergency alarm sounded. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his face from the Titan Wars. He had been fighting for humanity since he was 18 years old. Now, at 45, he was tired of war but ready for it always. "Report," he said as he entered the bridge. "We picked up a distress signal, sir," said Communications Officer Ben Clark. "It is unlike anything in our databases. The signal is coming from the Kepler 442 system about 6 light-years from here." Morrison studied the data on his screen. The signal was strong and clearly artificial, but it was also old. Very old. The pattern reminded him of the emergency beacons used by human ships, but this one was different. It carried an urgency that made his instincts scream warnings. Analysis? The signal appears to be a call for military assistance. Someone is in serious trouble, sir. Morrison did not hesitate. In his years of service, he had learned that when someone called for help, you answered. It did not matter if they were human or alien. It did not matter if it was dangerous. You, answered the call. Change course for the Kepler 442 system. Maximum speed. Sir, that will put us in unknown space. We have no idea what we might find there. That is exactly why we need to go. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we are responding to a distress call and request immediate support. The message reached Earth Command within minutes through the quantum communication network. Admiral. Lisa Carter was in a meeting when the priority alert came through. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for making fast decisions. She had been in charge of Earth's defense forces for 10 years. How reliable is this signal? She asked her staff. Very reliable, ma'am. The New Horizon has never sent a false alarm. Captain Morrison is solid. Carter looked at the star charts. On her screen, the Kepler 442 system was in unexplored space. Humanity had been expanding outward for 200 years, but they still had not visited every system. Most of the galaxy remained unknown. What forces do we have available? The Third Fleet is currently on patrol in the outer colonies. 67 ships total, including the dreadnought Leviathan. Carter made her decision. Deploy the entire Third Fleet to the Kepler 442 system. Emergency protocols. I want them there as fast as possible. The entire fleet, ma'am? For a single distress call? Yes, my instincts tell me this is bigger than it seems, and I have learned to trust my instincts. Within hours, human ships across a dozen star systems received the deployment order. Captains cut short their leave. Crews ran to their battle. Stations, supply ships loaded ammunition and medical supplies. The largest human fleet ever assembled began moving toward an unknown system to answer a call for help. Back on the damaged Zephyrian ship, Veltar watched the approaching energy signatures. With growing fear. They were getting closer. His ship's sensors were damaged, but they could still detect the massive power sources heading their way. Captain, Tetra said quietly, I have been thinking about the beacon. The civilization that built it was destroyed long ago, but they left the beacon behind as a last resort. If they were facing something so terrible that they needed to call for warriors from across the galaxy, what happened to those warriors? Veltar had been wondering the same thing. Maybe. They came too late. Maybe they were not strong enough. Or maybe, Ketra whispered, they never came at all. The first human ship, the battlecruiser Iron Phoenix, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Commander Steve Walsh looked at his sensors and saw exactly what he had expected to find, a small, damaged alien vessel. And something else. Something big and dark and moving toward them through the void. Red alert, Walsh ordered. All hands to battle stations. We have contact. The battlecruiser Iron Phoenix moved carefully through space toward the damaged alien vessel. Commander Steve Walsh stood on the bridge watching the main screen. His ship was built for war, with thick armor plating and enough weapons to destroy a small moon. But right now, he was more concerned about the strange readings his sensors were picking up. Distance to the alien ship? Walsh asked. 2,000 kilometers and closing, sir, reported Navigation Officer Tom Bradley. Their vessel appears to be venting atmosphere. Life support is critical, Walsh nodded. He was a career military officer who had served in 3 different wars. He knew how to fight, but he also knew when fighting was not the answer. The alien ship was clearly no threat to anyone. It was barely holding together. Communications, try to establish contact. Use all? Frequencies. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez sat at the communications station, her fingers dancing across the controls. She was the ship's xenobiologist, trained to make first contact with alien species. This was what she had studied for her entire career, but Now that it was happening, she felt nervous. I am picking up some kind of signal from their ship, she said. It sounds like ... music, very complex music. But there are patterns in it. I think it might be language. Can you translate it? I am running it through the universal translator now. The computer is trying to find patterns and match them to known communication methods. Walsh waited. First contact was always dangerous. Humanity had met 17 different alien species in the past century. Some had been friendly, others had tried to kill them. You never knew which kind you were dealing with until it was too late. Got something, Rodriguez said suddenly. The translator is picking up basic concepts: fear, damage, help needed. Sir, I think they are trying to ask for assistance. Open a channel. Rodriguez worked her controls and nodded. Channel open, sir, Walsh spoke slowly and clearly. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Steve Walsh of the Earthship Iron Phoenix. We received your distress signal. Do you require assistance? The response came back immediately. The voice was high and musical, unlike anything Walsh had ever heard. The universal translator worked to convert the sounds into English. Earthship, this is Captain Veltar of the Zephyrian research vessel Harmony's Edge. We are grateful for your response. Our ship has been damaged by an ancient device. We are losing life support and cannot repair the damage ourselves. Walsh felt relief. They were peaceful. Captain Veltar, we are prepared to assist. Can you tell us what caused the damage? There was a pause before Veltar responded. We were exploring ruins on the planet below. We found an ancient chamber. With technology we did not understand. When we tried to study it, the device activated. It sent out some kind of signal that damaged our ship's crystal matrix. Our systems are failing. Rodriguez looked up from her station. Sir, I am reading 12 life signs on their vessel. All weak but stable. Their ship's design is completely different from anything we have seen before. It appears to be grown rather than built. Grown? Yes, sir. The hull appears to be made of some kind of living crystal. Very advanced, but also very fragile. Nothing like our metal hulls. Walsh made a decision. Captain Veltar, we are going to dock with your vessel and send over a repair team. Is this acceptable? Yes, Earthship, we welcome your help. But I must warn you about something. The signal we accidentally sent out was not just a simple communication. It was a distress beacon, an ancient one. And I fear it may have called something dangerous to this system. What kind of dangerous? We do not know. But whoever built that beacon, they built it to call for warriors. The energy signature suggests they were facing something terrible. Something that required military force to stop. Walsh felt a chill run down his spine. How long ago was this signal sent? Approximately 18 hours ago. Walsh turned to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Price, long-range sensors. Scan for any approaching vessels. Lieutenant Dan Price worked his controls and frowned. Sir, I am picking up multiple contacts approaching from deep space. Range is extreme, but they appear to be large vessels. At least 20 of them. Human vessels? Negative, sir. The energy signatures are unknown, and so they are moving fast. Much faster than any ship should be able to travel. Walsh felt the familiar tension that came before a battle. Time to intercept? At their current speed, approximately 4 hours. Walsh turned back to the communications station. Captain Veltar, we are reading approaching vessels. Are they your people? No, Earthship, we are alone here. We are a peaceful species. We have no military vessels. Then what are those ships? Veltar's translated voice carried fear. I believe they are what the beacon was designed to call. But Commander Walsh, I must tell you something important. The beacon was not built by a peaceful species like mine. It was built by a civilization that was being destroyed. They created it as a last desperate call for help. Walsh felt his blood turn cold. What destroyed them? We do not know. But it happened millions of years ago. Whatever answered their call back then, it was not enough to save them. Walsh made another decision. All hands, prepare for docking operations. Engineering teams to the shuttle bay. We are going to help these people whether we have 4 hours or 4 minutes. Chief Engineer Pete Collins received the order and gathered his team. Collins was a big man with hands that could fix anything. Mechanical. He had been working on human ships for 20 years, but alien technology would be a new challenge. Listen up, he told his team. We are going to dock with an alien vessel and try to fix their life support. Their ship is made of living crystal, so forget everything you know about metal and circuits. We are going to have to figure this out as we go. The Iron Phoenix moved carefully into position. Next to the Harmony's edge, the alien ship was beautiful in a way that human ships never were. Its crystal hull reflected the light from the nearby star, creating patterns of color that shifted and moved, but even Collins could see the damage. Dark cracks ran through the crystal like scars. Docking clamps engaged, reported Bradley. Seal is good. Atmosphere is equalized. Collins led his team through the airlock and into the alien ship. The moment he stepped inside, he knew they were in a different world. The walls glowed with soft light that seemed to come from within the crystal itself. The air had a clean, fresh smell that reminded him of a forest after rain. Captain Veltar was waiting for them. Collins had seen pictures of many alien species, but the Zephyrians were unlike anything he had imagined. Veltar was tall and thin, with gray skin that seemed to shimmer. His large black eyes held intelligence and kindness. "Welcome to our ship," Veltar said through the translator. "We are grateful for your help." Collins looked around at the damaged sections. The crystal walls were cracked and dark in many places. "Can you show me your power systems?" Veltar led them deeper into the ship. The Zephyrian crew they passed looked weak and tired, but they all nodded politely to the humans. Collins could see they were peaceful people who had never expected to need help from warriors. "This is our main power core," Veltar said, indicating a large chamber filled with glowing crystals. "The energy from the beacon damaged the crystal matrix. The power is slowly draining away." Collins studied the system. It was completely different from human technology, but he could see the problem. The crystals were supposed to work together, sharing energy in a complex pattern. But the beacon's energy had disrupted that pattern. "I think I can fix this," Collins said, "but it will take time. And we need to work fast." "How much time?" Collins looked at his scanner readings. "At least 6 hours to properly repair the matrix." "But you said we only have 4 hours before those other ships arrive." Veltar's expression showed despair. "Then we will die when they arrive. We have no weapons, no shields, no way to fight." Collins put his hand on the alien captain's shoulder. "Captain, you called for help, and help is coming. Those ships out. They might be dangerous, but they are about to learn something about humans. We do not abandon people who need help. Ever." As if to prove his point, the Iron Phoenix's communication system crackled to life. "Iron Phoenix, this is Admiral Carter, aboard the dreadnought Leviathan. We have 66 ships arriving in your sector within the next 3 hours. What is your situation?" Commander Walsh smiled as he responded. "Admiral, we have first contact with a peaceful species under threat from unknown hostiles. We are conducting rescue operations." "Understood. The entire Third Fleet is at your disposal. We will handle any threats. You focus on saving lives?" Veltar looked at Collins with wonder. "Your people—" "You sent an entire fleet to help us?" Collins grinned. "Captain, you have no idea what you have gotten yourself into. Humans might be crazy, but we are crazy in the best possible way. When someone calls for help, we answer with everything we have." The repair work continued as more human ships began arriving in the system. The Zephyrians watched in amazement as vessel after vessel dropped out of hyperspace. Each ship was different, but all were clearly built for war. The humans had answered the ancient call with a force that the galaxy had never seen before, but in the darkness of space, something else was coming. Something that had been sleeping for millions of years, something that the ancient beacon had awakened, and it was hungry. The human fleet continued to arrive in the Kepler 442 system. Ship after ship dropped out of hyperspace, each one taking position around the damaged alien vessel. Admiral Lisa Carter watched from the bridge of her flagship, the massive dreadnought. Leviathan? She had commanded fleets before, but never in a situation like this. "Fleet status report," she ordered. 67 ships now in position, Admiral," reported her tactical officer. "All vessels are at battle readiness. The Iron Phoenix is still conducting rescue operations on the alien vessel." Carter nodded. She was a small woman who had earned her rank through 30 years of smart decisions and hard fighting. Her instincts told her this situation was about to get much worse. Long-range sensors, what are we looking at? The unknown contacts are still approaching. We now count 43. Vessels, they will be in weapons range in 90 minutes. Carter studied the data on her screen. The approaching ships were unlike anything in human databases. They were large, dark, and moving at speeds that should have been impossible. Their energy signatures were strange, almost mechanical, but also somehow alive. "Communications, patch. Me through to the Iron Phoenix. Channel open, Admiral." "Commander Walsh, what is the status of the alien vessel?" Walsh's voice crackled through the speakers. "Admiral, we have made contact with Captain Veltar of the Zephyrian research vessel. Harmony's Edge, his people are peaceful explorers. They accidentally activated an ancient beacon while studying ruins on the planet below. The beacon appears to have called something dangerous to this system. What kind of dangerous?" "Unknown, Admiral. But the Zephyrians believe it was designed to call for military assistance against an existential threat. Whatever destroyed the civilization that built the beacon." Carter felt a chill. How long ago was this civilization destroyed? "Millions of years ago, Admiral. And whatever destroyed them is still out there?" "It appears so, Admiral." Carter looked at her tactical display. Her fleet was powerful, but they were facing an unknown enemy that had survived for millions of years. "Commander, I want you to get every piece of information you can from the aliens. We need to know what we are fighting." Meanwhile, aboard the Harmony's Edge, Dr. Helen Baker worked with the Zephyrian science team. Baker was the chief scientist aboard the research vessel Discovery. She was a brilliant woman who had dedicated her life to understanding alien technology and ancient civilizations. "Captain Veltar," she said through the translator, "can you tell me more about the ruins you found?" Veltar led her to a damaged section of the ship where his team had stored their research data. The ruins covered an entire continent. The architecture was unlike anything we have seen before. The builders were clearly an advanced species, but everything about their city spoke of fear and desperation. What kind of fear? The entire civilization appeared to be focused on defense. Massive walls, underground bunkers, weapon systems that could destroy planets. They were preparing for war on a scale we cannot imagine. Baker studied the holographic displays showing the ruins. "What did you find in the chamber with the beacon?" Veltar's expression grew dark. "Symbols? Thousands of symbols covering every surface. My science officer believes they were warnings. Instructions on how to use the beacon, but also warnings about what it would summon." "What kind of warnings?" "The symbols showed images of darkness consuming entire star systems. Machines that grew stronger by destroying civilizations. The beacon was created as a last resort to call for help from anyone who could fight these things." Baker felt her blood turn cold. "You said this happened millions of years ago? How do you know the threat is still active?" "Because," said Ketra, Veltar's science officer, "the beacon would not have worked if the target was already dead. It was designed to call active threats to this location. If we activated it, that means the enemy is still out there." Baker quickly sent this information to Admiral Carter. The implications were terrifying. They were about to face an enemy that had survived for millions of years by destroying civilizations. An enemy that had been so dangerous that an entire advanced species had built a beacon to call for help from across the galaxy on the bridge of the Leviathan. Carter received Baker's report. She immediately called a fleet-wide conference. "All ship captains, this is Admiral Carter. We have new intelligence on the approaching threat. Based on alien testimony, we are facing an ancient enemy that has survived for millions of years by consuming entire civilizations. They are called the Devourers. The communications channel filled with voices as captains asked questions. Carter cut them off. Listen carefully. The Devourers are not just another alien species. They are machine intelligences that grow stronger by destroying others. They have had millions of years to perfect their methods. Every civilization they have encountered has fallen to them. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through the channel. Admiral, what are our orders? We fight. We fight because these people called for help and we answered. We fight because if we run, the Devourers will follow us home, and we fight because that is what humans do. The fleet began to spread out into battle formation. Each ship found its position in a complex pattern designed to maximize their firepower while protecting the damaged alien vessel. The human captains had trained for this their entire careers, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Contact, called out the sensor officer aboard the Leviathan. The Devourer fleet is dropping out of hyperspace. Carter looked at the main screen and saw something that would haunt her dreams forever. The Devourer ships were massive, dark constructs that seemed to absorb light itself. They moved with a fluid grace that was both beautiful and terrifying. Each ship was different, as if they had been built from the remains of conquered civilizations. My God, whispered someone on the bridge. Count 43 enemy vessels, reported the tactical officer. They are moving into attack formation. Carter studied the enemy ships. They were larger than human vessels, and their energy signatures were off the charts. But she had not become an admiral by being intimidated. All ships, this is Admiral Carter. Target the lead vessels, fire on my command. The Devourer fleet began to accelerate toward the human position. As they got closer, the human sensors began to pick up more details. The ships were not just machines. They were amalgamations of technology from dozens of different species. Hull plating from one civilization welded to weapon systems from another. The Devourers built their ships from the bones of their victims. Admiral, called out the communications officer, we are receiving a transmission from the enemy fleet. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and mechanical, but underneath it was something else. Something hungry, biological entities. You have interfered with our harvest. Withdraw immediately or be consumed. Carter stood up from her command chair. This is Admiral Lisa Carter of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are here to protect these people. If you want them, you will have to go through us. The response was immediate. Earth entities. Your species is unknown to us. You will be studied and cataloged before consumption. Your technology will be added to our fleet. Your knowledge will become part of our collective. Over my dead body, Carter said. That can be arranged. The communication ended. Carter looked around her bridge at her crew. They were all young men and women who had volunteered to serve humanity. They had families back on Earth, dreams and hopes for the future. But they were also warriors, trained and ready to fight. All ships, weapons free, engage the enemy. The space around Kepler 442b erupted in light as the human fleet opened fire. Particle beams, plasma cannons, and nuclear missiles streaked across the void toward the Devourer ships. The enemy vessels began to return fire with weapons that human science could barely understand. The battle for the future of the galaxy had begun. The Devourers had destroyed countless civilizations over millions of years. They had consumed entire star systems and grown stronger with each victory. They were the ultimate predators, perfectly adapted for destruction, but they had never fought humans before. They had never faced a species that had been forged in the fires of a death world. They had never encountered beings who would rather die than abandon those who called for help. The Devourers were about to learn what it meant to hunt the hunters. The first volley of human weapons struck the Devourer ships like a wall of fire. Particle beams carved through the darkness while nuclear missiles exploded in brilliant flashes of light. But as the light faded, the enemy vessels emerged from the attack with minimal damage. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb the energy and grow stronger. Minimal effect on target, reported the tactical officer aboard the Leviathan. Enemy shields are adapting to our weapon frequencies. Admiral Carter watched the battle display with growing concern. The Devourers were not just tough, they were learning. Each shot that hit them made them stronger against the next one. All ships switched to rotating frequencies. Do not give them time to adapt. The human fleet began to modify their attacks, changing weapon settings every few seconds. But the Devourers were fast learners. Within minutes, they had adapted to the new patterns and were closing in on the human formation. The destroyer Relentless, commanded by Captain Tony Martinez, found itself facing 3 Devourer ships at once. Martinez was a veteran of the colony wars, a man who had learned to fight dirty when fighting clean was not enough. "Sir, their shields are too strong," reported his weapons officer. "Our particle beams are not getting through." Martinez studied the enemy ships approaching his vessel. They were huge, covered in weapons that looked like they had been stolen from a dozen different civilizations. But Martinez had noticed something. The Devourers were predictable. They attacked in logical patterns, always choosing the most efficient approach. "Hard to port," Martinez ordered. "Take us into the asteroid field. Sir, that is suicide. The asteroids will tear us apart." "Maybe, but they will tear the Devourers apart too. And humans are better at flying through rocks than machines are." The Relentless dove into the asteroid field that surrounded the planet. The Devourer ships followed, their massive hulls scraping against the floating rocks. Martinez pushed his ship to its limits, weaving between asteroids that would have crushed a larger vessel. "Fire all weapons as we pass," Martinez ordered. "Use the asteroids as cover." The Relentless popped out from behind a large asteroid and fired everything it had at the nearest Devourer ship. The enemy vessel tried to turn to follow, but slammed into an asteroid and spun out of control. Martinez grinned as he watched the Devourer ship crash into 3 more asteroids before exploding. "1 down," he said. 2 to go." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Blake was leading a squadron of fighters from the carrier Falcon's Nest. Her small ship, Falcon 7, was fast and agile, built for hit-and-run attacks. She had been studying the Devourer attack patterns and noticed something important. "All fighters, this is Blake. The enemy ships are trying to predict our movements. They are using some kind of computer system to calculate where we will be. But I think I know how to beat it." "How, Commander?" asked her wingman, Lieutenant Rickstone. "Stop being predictable. Fly like humans, not like machines. Use your instincts, not your training." Blake dove her fighter toward the largest Devourer ship, but instead of making a straight attack run, she began to fly in a random pattern. She rolled left when logic said to go right. She climbed when she should have dived. She fired her weapons at targets that made no tactical sense. The Devourer ship's defense systems could not keep up. They were designed to fight logical opponents who made efficient decisions. Blake's chaotic flying style confused their targeting computers. "It is working," Blake called out. "Their weapons cannot lock onto us when we fly like crazy people." The other fighter pilots began to copy Blake's tactics. Soon the space around the Devourer fleet was filled with human fighters flying in impossible patterns. The enemy ships, built to fight organized fleets, struggled to deal with the chaos. Back aboard the Harmony's Edge, Captain Veltar and his crew watched the battle in amazement. The Zephyrians had never seen anything like it. The humans were fighting with a ferocity that was both terrifying and inspiring. "They are not following any logical combat doctrine," observed Science Officer Ketra. "Their tactics make no sense." "That is exactly why they are winning," said Dr. Helen Baker, who was still working with the alien science team. "The Devourers are machines. They think like machines. But humans think like animals. Dangerous, unpredictable animals." Chief Engineer Pete Collins had finished repairing the alien ship's life support systems. As he worked, he watched the battle through the crystal walls of the ship. He saw human vessels doing things that should have been impossible, ships using debris as weapons, crews making split-second decisions that saved their lives, captains sacrificing their own ships to protect others. "Captain Veltar," Collins said, "your people have been studying ancient civilizations for thousands of years. Have you ever seen anything like this? Veltar was quiet for a long moment. No, Engineer Collins. We have studied the remains of hundreds of species. Some were peaceful like us, others were warlike, but none of them fought like your people. None of them had this combination of intelligence and violence. We call it being human, Collins said simply. The battle continued to rage around them. The human fleet was taking casualties, but they were also learning. Each destroyed devourer ship taught them something new about their enemy. The humans adapted faster than the machines could counter-adapt. Admiral Carter coordinated the battle from the Leviathan's bridge. She watched as Captain Morrison's colony ship New Horizon rammed a damaged devourer vessel, destroying both ships but allowing 3 human destroyers to escape. She saw the cruiser Iron Will sacrifice itself to protect a group of fighters. She witnessed acts of courage that would be remembered for generations. Admiral, reported her tactical officer, we have destroyed 18 enemy vessels, but we have lost 12 of our own ships. Carter nodded grimly. The exchange rate was in their favor, but barely. The devourers were tough, and they were learning from each engagement. Worse, more enemy ships were appearing on the long-range sensors. How many more devourers are coming? At least 30 more ships, Admiral. They will arrive in 20 minutes. Carter made a decision that would define the rest of the battle. All ships, this is Admiral Carter. We are going to end this now. Full assault on the Devourer command. Ship, all vessels converge on my position. The human fleet began to move toward the largest Devourer ship. It was a massive construct that seemed to be made from the hulls of a dozen different civilizations. Its weapons were a mixture of technologies that should not have worked together, but somehow did. Admiral, called out her communications officer, we are receiving a transmission from the enemy command ship. Put it through, the mechanical voice filled the bridge. Earth entities. Your resistance is noted. Your tactics are being studied. You will be consumed, but your methods will be preserved. Your species shows promise. Some of you will be kept alive for further study, Carter smiled coldly. You want to study us? Come and get us. She turned to her crew. All weapons, target the command ship, everything we have. The Leviathan opened fire with every weapon it possessed. Particle beams, plasma cannons, nuclear missiles, and experimental energy weapons all struck the Devourer command ship at once. The other human vessels joined in, creating a wall of fire that lit up the entire system. The command ship's shields flared and began to fail. Its hull started to crack under the constant bombardment, but it was not going down without a fight. It returned fire with weapons that tore through human ships like paper. Hull breach on Deck 7, reported the damage control officer. We are losing atmosphere in sections 12 through 15. Carter ignored the reports. She had one job now. Destroy the command ship before it could call for more reinforcements. Continue firing. Do not stop until that thing is dead. The battle reached its climax as the 2 largest ships in the system hammered each other with everything they had. The Devourer command ship was larger and more heavily armed, but the Leviathan had something the machines did not understand. It had a crew that refused to give up. Admiral, called out the weapons officer, the enemy ship's shields are failing. Oh. Ships, concentrate fire on the command ship. This is our chance. The entire human fleet focused their attack on the weakened command ship. Under the combined assault, the ancient vessel finally began to die. Its hull cracked apart, spilling atmosphere and debris into space. Secondary explosions began to tear through its massive structure, but as the command ship died, it sent out one final signal. A call for help that would bring every Devourer ship in the galaxy to this system. The humans had won the battle, but they had also started a war that would determine the fate of every living thing in the galaxy. The Devourers now knew about humanity, and they would not underestimate them again. The last Devourer ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light that could be seen from the planet's surface. Admiral Carter watched from the bridge of the damaged Leviathan as debris from the ancient enemy scattered across space. The battle was over, but the cost had been heavy. 23 human ships had been destroyed and many others were badly damaged. "Fleet status report," Carter ordered. 44 ships remaining, Admiral," reported her tactical officer. "Casualties are heavy. Across the fleet, we have lost over 3,000 crew members." Carter felt the weight of those losses. Each number represented a person who had family back on Earth, people who had answered the call to help strangers and paid the ultimate price. But their sacrifice had not been in vain. Communications, open a channel to all ships. Channel open. "Admiral," Carter stood and looked at the main screen. "All human vessels, this is Admiral Carter. Today we faced an enemy that had destroyed civilizations for millions of years, an enemy that had never been defeated. But you proved that no matter how ancient the threat, no matter how impossible the odds, humans do not abandon those who call for help. Every person who died today died as a hero. Their sacrifice saved an entire species and showed the galaxy what humanity stands for." Throughout the fleet, tired and wounded crews listened to their admiral's words. In the medical bays, doctors worked to save the injured. In the engineering sections, repair teams worked to fix damaged systems. On every ship, humans did what they always did after a battle. They took care of each other. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, looking out at the debris field that had once been enemy ships. His colony ship had been badly damaged in the ramming attack that destroyed a Devourer vessel. Half his crew was dead, but the other half was alive because of the sacrifice. "Captain," said his communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the alien vessel." "Put it through." Captain Veltar's musical voice filled the bridge. "Captain Morrison, on behalf of my people and my government, I want to thank you for what you have done. You came when we called for help, even though you did not know us. You fought and died for people you had never met. We will never forget this gift." Morrison was quiet for a moment. "Captain Veltar, we did what anyone should do when someone calls for help. We answered, but Captain, you must understand. In all our travels, in all our study of ancient civilizations, we have never encountered a species like yours. Most intelligent. Races are either peaceful like us, or they are conquerors who take what they want. But you are something different. You are warriors who fight to protect others." Meanwhile, aboard the Harmony's Edge, Dr. Helen Baker worked with the Zephyrian science team to study the wreckage of the Devourer ships. What they were finding would change everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. "The technology is incredible," Baker told Captain Veltar. "These ships were built from the remains of hundreds of different civilizations. The Devourers did not just destroy worlds. They studied them, learned from them, and added their knowledge to their own." "How many civilizations do you think they destroyed?" asked Science Officer Ketra. Baker looked at the data scrolling across her screen. "Based on the different technologies we are seeing, at least 1,000, maybe more. The Devourers have been active for millions of years. They were the reason so many ancient civilizations built weapons and defenses. They were fighting this enemy. And now the Devourers are gone? The ones here are dead. But before the command ship was destroyed, it sent out a signal. Other Devourer fleets will know what happened here. They will know about humanity." Veltar felt fear again. "Will they come for your people?" Baker smiled grimly. "Probably. But they will find us ready. And they will find out that humans are very good at sharing what we learn." The cleanup and rescue operations continued for days. Human ships worked alongside Zephyrian vessels to recover survivors and salvage useful technology. The two species learned about each other as they worked. The Zephyrians were amazed by human determination and courage. The humans were impressed by Zephyrian intelligence and peaceful nature. Chief Engineer Pete Collins spent hours talking with Zephyrian engineers about their crystal technology. "Your ships are beautiful," he told them. "Ours are built for war, but yours are built for discovery. Perhaps we can learn from each other," suggested the Zephyrian chief engineer. "Your armor and weapons technology could help us survive. Our crystal systems could help your ships travel farther and faster." Collins nodded. I think that is exactly what we need to do. 3 weeks later, the first Galactic Council meeting was held aboard the massive space station that the Zephyrians had quickly built in orbit around their homeworld. Representatives from 12 different species attended, all of them having heard about the battle against the Devourers. Ambassador Kelly Johnson represented humanity at the meeting. She was a diplomat who had spent her career trying to build bridges between different species. But this meeting was different from any she had attended before. The threat of the Devourers has existed for millions of years, she told the assembled representatives. But for the first time, we have proof that they can be defeated. However, this victory was only possible because different species work together. The representative from the peaceful Altarian Republic spoke next. Ambassador Johnson, your species saved the Zephyrians, but in doing so, you may have brought the Devourers' attention to all of us. What do you propose we do? Johnson stood and looked around the room at the various alien species. Some were humanoid, others were completely different from anything on Earth, but all of them shared the same fear, the same need for protection. We propose a mutual defense alliance. Humanity will provide military protection and training. Other species will provide technology, resources, and scientific knowledge. Together we can build a defense network that will protect all our worlds. And if we refuse? Asked the representative from the industrial Krathan Empire. Johnson's expression grew serious. Then when the Devourers come for you, you will face them alone. And based on what we learned from their ship wreckage, they are very good at destroying civilizations that stand alone. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. Every species in the room had seen the recordings of the battle. They had seen human ships sacrifice themselves to protect alien vessels. They had seen what happened when warriors chose to protect rather than conquer. The Galactic Defense Alliance was formed that day. Humanity would provide the military backbone, while other species would contribute their specialized knowledge and resources. Shipyards would be built to construct vessels that combine the best technologies from all member species. Training programs would teach other races how to fight, while humans would learn new sciences and technologies. Captain Jake Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of the new Alliance fleet. His first task was to establish patrol routes that would protect all member worlds. The human colony ship New Horizon was rebuilt as the flagship of the Alliance, carrying a mixed crew of humans and aliens. Dr. Helen Baker became the head of the Alliance Science Division. Her job was to study Devourer technology and find ways to counter it. Working with scientists from a dozen different species, she began developing new weapons and defenses that would be ready when the Devourers returned. Captain Veltar and the crew of the Harmony's Edge became the first Zephyrian members of the Alliance fleet. Their ship was retrofitted with human armor and weapons, while human ships received Zephyrian crystal technology that made them faster and more efficient. 2 years later, the Devourers did return. But when they arrived at Zephyrian space, they found something they had never encountered before. They found a galaxy that was ready for them. They found worlds protected by ships that combined the technologies of many species. They found warriors who had learned from the mistakes of ancient civilizations. The war that followed lasted for decades. The Devourers were strong and ancient, but they had made one critical error. They had awakened humanity. And humans, once awakened to a threat, did not go back to sleep until that threat was eliminated forever. The galaxy learned that day that there were two types of species in the universe: those who called for help when they were in trouble, and those who answered that call. The Devourers had spent millions of years hunting the first type. They had never encountered the second type before. They never got a chance to make that mistake again.